It's game time. The Kid Gowie. Ravens Nation. All we know is purple and black. And if you're not a Ravens fan, welcome to Baltimore, Maryland, M&T Bank Stadium, where opponents don't make it out alive unless we bury them. Every team be afraid of them, especially all the quarterbacks, cause our defensive linemen won't hesitate to leave you sack. Let's take a minute, go back to Super Bowl 35. Domination was an understatement up against the Giants. Numerous touchdowns, they put up numbers, and it didn't take a nutritionist to see they hunger. Only stat Kerry Collins could get was interceptions. He must have thought throwing to the D counted as receptions. The pass was legendary, but don't sleep on the present. Our secondary make quarterbacks avoid their direction. You tryna run the ball, you better hope your blockers work. You can juke, you can spin, but your destination's the turf. This is a man's game, being soft will get you hurt. Watch the defense force a fumble and the fans go berserk. 17 weeks, only one league out of 32 squads. No one's messing with our team. We all bleed black and purple, you can check our IVs. Raven Nation fly high, watch us all spread our wings. Put your game face on, embarrass the competition. You ain't talking about the greatest if the Ravens aren't mentioned. Screw every other team, cause those dudes are whack. In Baltimore, the only thing we know is purple and black. Go! They always win when the championship's on the line. So if you hoping that they failed, then you really wasting your time. Going as the 49ers, I'm pretty sure they remember when they made a comeback, but weren't declared the winners. 2 rings down, but you know they won't stop now. If the opposing D's caught slipping, you know exactly how that goes. That's another deep connection for 6 points in the end zone. The stadium goes wacko as Ravens put in work. Pittsburgh Steelers, that still curtain is looking more like a skirt. So tell me who they say is gonna beat them Bengals. Who used to be the Browns until they relocated? Ravens, they are one of the greatest. There's simply no denying it. To beat them, bringing your A game's a requirement. With the youth of the team, I bet they still be dominant, even after the greatest linebacker's retirement. 17 weeks, only one league out of 32 squads. No one's messing with our team. We all bleed black and purple, you can check our IVs. Raven Nation fly high, watch us all spread our wings. Put your game face on, embarrass the competition. You ain't talking about the greatest if the Ravens aren't mentioned. Screw every other team, cause those dudes are whack. In Baltimore, the only thing we know is purple and black. Go!
Yo, what's going on, guys? Hey, back-to-back shows. I haven't done that in a minute, which feels good. So yeah, by the way, I just see something from Chase Brown. That song is on Spotify. Just check. I think it's called Ravens Anthem by the Kid Gowie. Shout out to my guy, the Kid Gowie. Real quick, Devin. Shout out to you, Thomas. Game Medicine. Always keeping us informed. Chase Brown and Paul Masick. Okay, two things. My guy Ace Boogie's coming. He'll be here soon. He's wrapping up his show over there in New Stripe City. But before I start talking about Ravens and all this good stuff, I posted a link. It's not for you guys to copy. It's just showing you guys that I have a link here. That link, what it is in the AFC North Talk, we have a survival league. If you don't know what survival league is, it's nothing that is gonna consume a lot of time from you guys. It's a thing, or it's a league, right? That you pick every week a winner. What team is gonna win? So let's say week 1, you want to pick the Ravens. Okay, Ravens win. Good. You're still alive. But that means you cannot pick the Ravens for the rest of the league. For the rest of the league. There's strategy behind it and all that. It's open to everybody for free. There's a password, so no random people enter, right? We're hoping mostly AFC North talkers enter the pool. The league, like I said, is free. So we'll announce the winner when the winner happens. And the other thing is, Manscaped agree to sponsor the gift. So there's a prize for the winner. Again, it's free, but it's a prize for the winner. So the link there, click it. The password is ASC_North_talk with capitals as you see them there. Okay. It's on Twitter also. So if you follow the AFC North Talk on Twitter, you can see everything there. Again, join the league, should be fun. And you had the opportunity to win a prize. Okay. Spencer the Realist, shout out to you, man. Thank you for joining the live stream. Okay, let me talk here for a moment about something. Deshaun Wade. I'm gonna be honest. I got upset. I was not happy. I was not a fan of the trade. And like I said, Ace Boogie is coming soon, so stay tuned for that. But I was not a fan of the trade, and I explained why. My big reasoning is I get a lot of people saying Sonny, but Sonny, he ain't gonna be starting this year. And my answer to you is yes, Sean Wade was not gonna start this year, or nor he was supposed to start at all this year. When we drafted him, I liked the draft, and I was like, he's probably gonna contribute special teams this year. And his best trade was a slot corner. And now you guys, and maybe not nobody that's here, but people on Twitter and some of my Ravens YouTuber flocks, I was saying, yeah, but look at Nigel Warrior and Washington. They can play slot. Well, they have been playing a little slot in the preseason, and the reasoning behind that is they want to see can they cover man-to-man, because there's 2 safeties that are about to be free agents. So they trying to figure out who are the guys that are going to go behind them, right? Plus you have Stevens, that he was a running back. He moved to corner for a year, and the Ravens drafted him to be a potential safety, right? So Wade's best attribute was slot corner. He can play a little bit outside, but mostly slot corner. Who do we have in the slot right now? Tavon Young. Was Wade gonna replace Tavon Young this year? No. But Tavon Young has an injury problem, and he has a big cap number. So my thought was next year, Wade was supposed to be out at least from 1 year pick. Look, we have been, as I said, we have been carrying with Bob Iman Marshall for a couple of years now. He doesn't produce anything. Averett was a 5th round, 6th round pick, and you can see the progression. And people love to pick on Averett. And Averett, why they pick up on Averett is because as a 5th or 6th round pick, his rookie year, he had to play because I don't know who was it on the other side of Humphrey. Oh, probably Jimmy Smith. He was injured, so he threw Averett there to play outside. And yes, as a 6th round pick, there is a reason why you're a 6th round pick. So people picked on him. Not as bad as they pick on Bond and some of the other guys that we had. But yes, he made mistakes. You can see King from Green Bay, how much people, and then he played in Seattle, how much people picked on him. And he was a first round pick, right? So, and then you can see Averett's growth. I like Averett a lot, right? I'm all for the team. And then people are like, Sonny, but look at the depth. Yes, we do. We do have depth. But 2 of the big 4, let's call the big 4 Humphrey, Peters, Young, and Smith. 2 out of the big 4 are injury prone. Smith gets hurt all the time. I love Smith, right? But he gets hurt. And Tavon Young as well. That's where Sean Wade should slide. Not this year, next year. If I'm not mistaken, Avery will be a free agent next year as well, right? So I don't know if they're going to keep him or not. That was my whole thing. Avery was a 4th rounder. Okay, my bad, 4th rounder. But again, 4th, 5th, separation's not that big, right? So saying that, I was not a big fan of the trade. But let's introduce the guy, the myth, the legend, the person that all you guys are here for, and the people that are gonna connect later also to watch. My guy, Ace Boogie, how you doing, bro?
Hey, what's up, Sonny? Appreciate the kind compliments, but they're here to see you, bro. This is the Ravens Nation representing SCG Sports. But how you doing today, bro?
I'm good. I'm good. Well, the reason I say it like this because I have been bringing everybody from the ASC North Talk, and as I said to you guys, because we get messages like, "Hey, you guys, so yes, we took a break. We took a break because the season is long, and we do twice a week, long as live streams, as you guys know. We always do, and I will say this too, and Ace knows this. Every show before the show, we say, let's keep it under an hour, guys. An hour at most. Like
Right.
literally, we say this like so many. Even I think there was this live stream about coaching and GMs, and we said like, yeah, this one's gonna be short. Yeah, this one's gonna be short. We're gonna keep this under an hour, no problem. Boom, and that one went like an hour 40.
Yeah,
So
it went crazy. It went crazy.
that's but we do it, we love it, we like to engage with you guys. So so I promised that I was gonna bring everybody from the AFC North Talk, and like I said last week, there's 2 shows on Quincy's channel. Okay. And we're back not next week, but the following week, and as I said, hot takes, which is always fun. Those
Big
shows
hot
are
takes.
it's hot takes. You know it. Anyway, Ace, first question I have for you, which is something that I obviously I haven't been watching too many Bengal preseason games, but somebody brought it up to me. It's your boy Chase. Apparently,
Yes.
he has the dropsies, and
Yes.
as a Ravens fan that knows about receivers dropping the ball, sometimes those receivers, there's sometimes, they're hard catches and you drop a hard catch and you're like, well, you're supposed to do that. Yeah, I can get past it, especially to a rookie.
Right.
But then I went and see because I was like, maybe people are overblowing. And then I saw like, ooh, but these are not like hard catches, right? These are like catchable balls.
Right.
So is Bengals Nation scared that what Chase is having is more mental, or is he just adjusting to the game?
I think there's some Steelers fans know about dropsies too as well, right, from their wide receivers. But I think you hit on a great point there. I think personally, that's a good question. I think it's actually a mix of both. I think it is somewhat mental, and I think it's also him getting adjusted to not playing football since 2020, right? And so obviously the drops are a concern, right? You pick this guy number 5, you expect him to make those catches. Sometimes I kind of tend to look at the situation that he was kind of thrusted in. I felt like there were a lot of Bengals this offseason. We had the Civil War. Mm-hmm. A lot of them were expecting him to come in and immediately just be this star receiver and come out there and just light the league on fire. And I kind of tempered my expectations towards that because at the end of the day, he hadn't played, in a season since 2020. So he's nearly 2 years removed from that. And let's just be real. The NFL is a learning curve. You can put in rookie receivers and all of that, but at the end of the day, they have to learn the playbook, which is totally way more advanced than their college playbook. And then you have to also get used to the speed. We hear wide receivers, and I heard it from Tyler Boyd, from AJ Green, from all of the guys that say the first thing that they had to adjust to in the NFL at the receiving position was the speed, right? The coverage, how corners are playing you. So I think as this situation has kind of gone on, that's one of the things that I had as an expectation, right? Because at first he was struggling with running the right routes. Like if you look at this situation from the beginning, it's a lot of stuff that kind of makes sense, right? He was running the wrong routes because he needed to learn the offense and those plays and those installs. So that was his first issue. He ended up getting that under control. And then we got into a situation where he started to have the drops, right? And so this was weird coming from Chase because when you look at the research behind him, he came from LSU, right? Mm-hmm. This is a team that was known for having Justin Jefferson, Chase, as well as, I can't remember the third one, his name escapes me, but they had some good receivers there. One of the things that they actually did in the offseason from their wide receiver coach was this thing that they called the Summer of 10,000 catches, where they literally have to try to get 10,000 catches throughout the offseason. Now, that sounds crazy, but it's not just a jug machine. It could be them like simply throwing a ball up and catching it, but they have to track it and say that they have 10,000. And obviously it's supposed to reduce them from being able to drop the ball. That's one of the things that kind of confused me from that standpoint as well, because I know that this guy is doing it. So then we get to the game. The first game he makes the catch. He's in for maybe a series, if that, makes the catch on the screen pass, does his thing. The second game, the thing that was weird about the second game, I think, is that he had to play with Brendan Allen, which he played with Brendan Allen in the first game, right? But majority of practice, he's been working with Joe Burrow. So he doesn't really have that much chemistry with Brendan Allen. And that, to me, was one of my main concerns when it came to taking Chase, but I didn't have that concern because we had Joe Burrow, right? Before a team like Miami or a team like Philly, I would be worried about that chemistry getting back together. But anyways, he goes out and he has the 3 drop passes. Now, for me personally, I think one of those passes, I think it was a deep post, I believe. He had Landon Collins bearing down. He just made a business decision, in my opinion. Like, what would be the point of taking that hit in the preseason? Now, if this were a real game, I would be extremely concerned because obviously in the AFC North, you're going to be in those situations where quarterback might set you up a little bit and you might have to take some punishment. So obviously we're going to want him to take that punishment. But let's say he did catch that ball and he gets his clock cleaned and then he's out with a concussion for 2 weeks or something like that. Was that really worth risking that in the preseason? Okay, I could understand you making a business decision in the preseason. Now, the other ones, he obviously should have caught those balls. If the ball hits you in the hand, you got to catch it. I don't care how inaccurate Brendan Allen is. You got to catch it, right? But in the grand scheme of things, I'm looking at it from a full view. Hasn't played since 2020. Has to learn a new offense. This is his first time playing in the NFL. He's probably going to be a little bit nervous. And then there's always kind of an effect, and you've probably seen this. When you drop that first one, it's in your head, and you're thinking about it when the second one drops. And then you're like, man, now I got to get another one. The one thing that I feel like that I was disappointed in was that the Bengals didn't leave him in to the point where he actually just got a catch just to mentally be able to say, okay, I got a catch. And so then when it first happened, I wasn't really concerned because I watched Devontae Smith as well, who is a guy that I said I believe could potentially be better than Chase, or they're on the same level. And, you know, in his game, he had 2 drops as well, but he also had 2 catches. And so for me, the thing that started to concern me was the next practice, he had drops again. And you could tell that mentally it was in his head. So what the Bengals staff ended up doing is the wide receiver coach basically stuck on him all practice and was like, I'm not going anywhere. You're going to have to make these catches with me draped all over you. And to me, it actually kind of reminded me of Joe Burrow about almost a month ago now when he was having struggles and was nervous about, you know, moving in the pocket. And what they ended up doing is they kept having coaches surround him by his legs and stuff like that to the point where he got comfortable. And so they've worked with Jamar Chase on that, with getting used to people being draped up all over him. And then obviously he has other receivers there like a T. Higgins and like a Tyler Boyd that he could also lean on where they could give him some advice on certain things. And I think Tyler Boyd said, worry about getting away from the coverage of the defender and then make sure you concentrate on getting to the ball. And so I think that those were things that obviously were concerns that were somewhat kind of qualmed. And honestly, I think that was the practice, like right after the game happened. After that, you know, he stayed after practice. This is after everyone came in, stayed an extra hour afterwards. And I think someone either with a camera crew or a fan noticed him coming back late after, you know, the team had already went in. So he's shown mentally that he's strong enough to go out there and realizes, hey, even though I'm the number 5 pick, I got to get this situation taken care of. So he did that. And then from my understanding, every single practice, probably been about 3 or 4 since that. He's just had monster practices. He hasn't dropped the ball. So he's back to where he needs to be. But we have to see that translate in the actual preseason game, especially against Miami. Now, the one thing I will say is Brandon Allen did have like 36 passing yards going into the third quarter. And he played in the first quarter, second quarter. He looked awful. I'm not trying to give Chase a bailout there. He had to catch those balls that were thrown to him. but he was not throwing accurate passes. So the hope is that with the restored confidence, with Joe Burrow putting better placed balls, with them having chemistry, Chase knowing exactly where Joe is going to throw it and stuff like that, I think that that'll help him a little bit more. But you're right. If we continue to see him have drops in this next preseason game, then I think that I'm going to be concerned. But the one thing that I didn't like is a lot of Bengals fans like just jumped on it because John Ross, a guy that we've talked about on AFC North Talk plenty of times, he had an issue with drops. And so some people have already put that stigma onto Chase. And I just felt like, given the situation of him not playing since 2020, learning a new offense, getting all of, not having chemistry with Brandon Allen, getting over the mental hurdles, I thought that it was too much to make it even worse by going at the guy on Twitter and social media for a game that was in the preseason. Now, obviously, if this was a regular season game, I think that we'd be extremely concerned, but it's better to me that those things are happening now with the drop issues than them continuing and happening in the actual season. But yes, it's definitely a concern, but I don't think that it's something that he can't get over.
Yeah, no, I agree. So a couple of things I will say. First, even though he was the 5th overall pick, of all the wide receivers in the first round, he definitely has the best situation. In theory, he can be wide receiver 3 in year 1, right? You had 2 really good wide receivers. Tyler Boyd, arguably one of the best slot receivers in the league, and T. Higgins played outstanding last year, right? And then if you think about Smith from the Eagles, so the Eagles have a wide receiver problem last year. So obviously Smith is being seen as you are, for lack of a better word, our savior. Waddle got drafted by the Raiders? No, by Miami. Another guy that, even though they have Parker over there, is still he's still gonna be the man, right? I think Fuller's still there too, but Fuller is good for missing X amount of games.
Yes.
So Waddle also being looked as you need to be the guy. In the case of Baltimore, Bateman, yes, we have Hollywood Brown and all that, but Ravens fans will tell you Bateman was drafted to be the guy. Yeah, maybe year 1 because he also brought Sammy Watkins. Maybe Bateman is, I would say, in the second best position after Chase. But Chase is in a good position that should help him bring some of the pressure out. My concern is, for what I saw, again, when people were telling me like, "Oh, this Chase is dropping, blah blah blah," what do you think? Well, I said like, I don't know, I haven't watched it. Again, drops is so difficult to address because drop could be it touch your burly hands as you're stretching. Yeah, that's a tough catch.
Right.
The one play that you said that you understand why did he make a business decision with Landon Collins, that. For me, and I understood it, right? Like, as I said, preseason, would you really want the guy to get a big hit? No. But it almost feels to me, Ace, that he's thinking too much. He doesn't have the ball already. He's looking like, for receiver, catching should be natural. You don't even should be even thinking about it, right? Route running, if you're really good at route running, also should be natural. I always say to my Ravens guys here that the problem that we have with Boykins, because Boykins ran a 4.445 at 6'5", I think he is. So that's super fast for a big guy. But when he's on the field, he's slow. And it's because route running doesn't come natural to him. He's fast if you say just go straight, right? But if he has to run any routes, you can see him being slow because he's thinking, where's my breaking point? And then when I break, what is the foot that I need to plant if I'm going out in, right? So that's the only thing. Now, that gets better with practice. As you practice more, and that should be fluid. That should be, you're hoping that's all fluid. But that's my only concern. If he can mentally get out of whatever he is in his head, yes, he should surpass this. Because as far as I know, and I didn't scout Chase because I knew Chase was not even going to be sniffing Baltimore. But as far as I knew, he didn't have a drop problem in college. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, he definitely didn't have one in college at all. And I mean, for me, one thing that I will say, obviously, I've never played on NFL level or even a college level, right? But when I played wide receiver, the chemistry does matter, right? Like, I think when you're used to where a quarterback puts something, because a lot of people have talked about this offseason that Joe Burrow has kind of improved the velocity on this ball, where he's putting it at. Sometimes that timing is pretty crucial, because me personally, we had a starting quarterback and we had a reserve quarterback. My chemistry with the reserve quarterback was actually better because he knew exactly where to put it. I knew where he was going to put it at. I knew what our timing was going to be. If I get out of my route and whip my head around, I know that it's going to be on me. I know that it's going to come straight at my face. It's not going to come low or something like that. So I think that definitely is a factor a little bit, but I think you're right. Like, he definitely was thinking too much in the moment, for sure. And as a receiver, like you said, you just got to react and go, especially in the NFL, where these decisions have to be made in a split second. It's not like college where you can kind of slow down, and because you're a better athlete than the next guy, even though he played in the SEC, that you can make these mistakes or take that extra second to guess. And I think that's kind of what Tyler Boyd and them were kind of trying to get him to say, like, concentrate on just beating the DB, getting open, and then just make the catch. And so, yeah, I don't think he ever had any drop issues in college. The one thing that I will say is I wasn't too surprised about the business decision, because the only negative that I could say about Chase is sometimes when they played lesser competition, he didn't go all out on every single play. So that was the only negative that I really had. So it kind of made sense to me, like, oh, it's a preseason game. I'm not going to put my body on the line. I wasn't really surprised by that, just because that kind of shows up on the film. And that's, like you said, that's why we look at film, right? Because 9 times out of 10, what you do on film is going to translate to what you do in games. And I kind of saw him make that business decision, and he was just like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, those were similar to games that I saw that weren't the big games. Now, when it's a game like Alabama and probably if he's playing the Ravens or the Steelers or the Browns, I don't think that he'll do that. But let's just say he's playing, I don't know, the Jacksonville Jaguars. There may be a situation where he could do something like that if the Bengals are already winning.
Okay, fair. And also, to be fair to Chase, I'm not trying to defend Chase here too much, but what I've seen is most players that, at least for the ones that I've been paying attention, that took the year off, right, they have been struggling a little bit in the preseason. Your guy,
Penei Sewell, man,
struggling, right? So taking that year off looks to be hurting. I mean, and everybody, it was their decision. I'm not trying to deem them for taking the year off, but obviously rust looks like being part of it. In the case, like I said, in the case of a receiver, when you're thinking too much, you just need to practice extra hard, as you said that he's doing, because then what you want is, again, to just come natural. The catching, not even thinking. You should, as a receiver, you're not supposed to be thinking, where am I putting my hands? No, it should be reactionary, right? My routes, cutting, all that should be. The only portion where you need to think more is, once I catch it, I scan the field. Now I'm thinking, do I juke this guy stiff arm? I run right, left, middle, right. That's the portion where you want your receiver thinking a little bit more. Or if he has an option route, right? If he has the ability in this route to either post or cut out or drag it out, those then, because at that point he's scanning the field, but saying once he decides the motion as how he's cutting the route, it should be seamless. Right. Anyway, big donation here. Shout out to my guy, Game Medicine. By the way, Game Medicine is the person that used to, I forgot his name, but he was the one that always gave us all the updates.
Appreciate that, bro.
Yeah, he just changed the name. Joseph Osai, Tormeniski, which is a shame because he was turning up.
Yeah, man, that was a tough loss for sure. Joseph Osai, I mean, it was one game, right? But at the end of the day, I was at that game. He beat Tristan Wirfs. I remember walking into the Raymond James Stadium, and I was excited to see him. And I was like, okay, I actually saw a play, I think before that, I think a tackle put him on his butt or something. And I was like, oh, that's his welcome to the NFL moment. And then after that, he beats Tristan Wirfs, who I believe was only beat for 1, maybe 2 sacks. Exactly, and really was flashing. And honestly, I was kind of upset the fact that they played him as much as they did, as long as they did, because I was like, get this guy out of there. I understand you want to get him reps because Osai's background is that he was a former linebacker that transitioned 2 edge rusher, like for just one season. So they kind of wanted to get him used to the NFL. I was somewhat surprised because not that he had the potential. I didn't expect for him to put it together that fast. Like the moves that he was using, I was kind of shocked at because when I watched the tape, his moveset was kind of limited. He was a guy that went hard every single play. He's a guy that's going to run from sideline to sideline, and he's going to have an amazing motor that he uses. But yeah, losing him potentially, especially when, we ranked the edge rushing room on AFC North Talk, we all know that the Bengals edge rushers were definitely a question mark, especially after you lose Carlos Dunlap. So losing Osai now definitely stings a lot. And it was kind of weird because at first they were like, oh, it's a wrist injury. Then it comes out that he tore his knee. So his wrist and knee were both hurt. So apparently they just pretty much moved him to IR. Trey Waynes is another one, as he hit on, that's extremely frustrating because he was nicked up, I believe, early in camp, bounced back. From what we could see just from practice, him going against Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and those guys seemed to be doing okay. I really would probably say that Cheeto has definitely outplayed him as the opposite corner of him, but he was still solid, right? And then we kind of got a little peek at him in the last game where he did what Trey Waynes is kind of expected to do. He's going to be a guy that may give up a pass or a completion, but he's going to be sure to make that tackle. And so to see him tweak a hamstring, in practice right before this last game, right before the season, that's definitely concerning because you're talking about going into the season again without Trey Waynes to start the season. So he's got a hamstring injury. Maybe with the extra week that they have, there's a possible way back, but I'm not expecting him to probably be back until week 2, week 3, just to be pessimistic at this moment. DJ Reader and Darius Phillips, I haven't heard about, their injuries. It looks like they're undisclosed, but I don't believe that they were going to play in this game anyway, because they're going to have the first unit out for this game defensively. Now, Joe Burrow will be playing with the number ones, I believe, O-line. I would think that they would throw chasing them in there as well. So those aren't too concerning, but Darius Phillips in a funny way is probably going to be competing with Eli Apple to replace Trey Waynes on the outside.
Eli Apple.
Yeah, Eli Apple. So one thing I'll say is I already know Eli Apple is pretty much trash. Let's just keep it a buck. But the one thing that I will say is, and I kind of tried to say this on AFC North Talk, Eli Apple is still better than kind of the situation that they had last year. They had guys that were like undrafted college free agents out there starting. So the one thing is, obviously, Eli Apple could get burned and things of that nature, but he at least has some experience starting out there. Now, obviously, he's probably going to give some stuff up, but I'd rather have him out there than some undrafted free agent guy that, didn't even play at a big college and is just out there just getting torched completely. So Eli Apple, it's funny because he hasn't played at all. He's been having some injuries. So I wonder if he'll even play in this next Dolphins game, but we'll probably be expecting a combination of Darius Phillips and him on the outside. And then on the other outside, we have Cheeto. And then on the inside, we have Mike Hilton and some guys. So that's what I kind of expect them to do in terms of handling those injuries.
Wait, don't you have Owuzie?
Yeah, Cheeto Owuzie, yes. Cheeto has really looked good. If you talk about the MVPs at camp, I think Cheeto has been one of them. I wasn't too shocked because I did a show with, I believe, Vach Lombardi. Obviously, you guys know that he does a lot of film on YouTube. He's a really good reviewer of film, and he happens to be a Cowboys fan. And literally every person that I know that's a Cowboys fan, they were like, Cheeto is pretty good. Like, he's a good corner. Don't sleep on him. He's kind of underrated. He's not going to put you in a position where you're just going to get burned every time. And so I kind of knew that coming in. And obviously he's, a high draft pick, second round guy out of Colorado. And he's just really fit in and did what's been asked of him so far. He also had a game against Terry McLaurin. There was a long bomb. He had a pass deflection on that. Obviously, he's kind of familiar with Terry McLaurin, with him coming from that division, so that probably helped him. But I think Cheeto is going to be okay.
Yeah. No, I think it's definitely an upgrade, right? And all we say by Bengals, for the Bengals fan, is y'all had the worst luck with injuries. You have the worst. I told this to Ace, I think like 2 years ago. And I was like, Ace, man, you guys have a solid team, but I think we were talking about Eifer way back. And I was like, man, Eifer's good.
Eifert, yeah.
And yeah, because Eifer had all the talent when he was there, he was good, but
Right.
and I feel like that. Look, Reader, I think is one of the most important players for you guys because your middle right now is very questionable. It's an understatement, but when you put Reader there, he's such a space eater that stats wise, you're not gonna see Reader do much, but he's gonna suck two guys, which that point helps the linebackers come down a little bit for stopping the running game. Okay, guys. So as before I discuss this with Ace, if anybody wants to be on the lines, you text at 443-292-2337, 443-292-2337. We're only gonna do this podcast for an hour, and I have promised that to every single AFC North talk host, and we have been accomplishing it. So we're gonna do the same thing with Ace today. But before we take some caller, let's talk here about the Bengals schedule. If I remember correctly, you put them at 8-1.
Yes, I did.
In the AFC North talk. I think you had them third, but I can't remember if you had them third or fourth.
I think third. Yeah, I had them third. You know, I had the Steelers fourth, but we'll see. Big Ben, I will say, Big Ben definitely looked good in preseason. It was against the line. I don't know if I watched their last preseason game or if this is going to be their last one this week. So that's something to monitor. I mean, the offensive line looks solid, but the Lions are a really bad team, so I have to see. But I did have Pittsburgh fourth. A lot of people were like, "Oh, you're just hating," but I honestly really feel like those concerns that I had about them are there. I still have concerns. I'd probably say about the Bengals too, but with me knowing some of the ins and outs and some of the under radar things that have changed with this team, that's why I kind of came out with the 8-1. So I guess starting things off, we talk about the Vikings game, right? And the Vikings, the home opener, right? Vikings. I actually had us losing this game because I think that this is Joe Burrow. This is going to be him. Now, at this point, at the point where I was saying that, I wasn't sure if they were going to play him in the preseason. Obviously, they're going to play him now. But even with that, I'm still going to give him at least a game to get kind of used to the knee, right? I'm not going to just say the knee injury didn't happen. He's just going to be on fire from week one. Now, there have been circumstances where we have seen that. Deshaun Watson, where he just returned the next year and was on fire. He didn't skip a beat. But I'm actually going to give us the loss there. Week two, I think that this is a winnable game. You talk about the Chicago Bears. They really have struggled to really put it together offensively. Defensively, you know, they're lights out, even though they did have some struggles at certain points throughout last year. But Andy Dalton, like, I can't take you serious. If you're not starting Justin Fields, there's no way that I could say
for Andy
head up. They're starting Andy Dalton, bro. They're starting Andy Dalton right now, and there's no way that I think Joe Burrow will lose to Andy Dalton head up. Now, obviously, they do have Khalil Mack. They do have a very good defense. I think the Bengals offensive line, that's the one thing that has stood out this entire preseason. The acquisition of bringing back Frank Pollock as the offensive line coach has truly been felt. You know, they in that Washington game against the very team that Joe Burrow got injured up against, we're talking Chase Young, we're talking Daron Payne, we're talking Jonathan Allen. To me, in my opinion, they're one of the best fronts in the NFL, right? They went out against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, another very good front in the NFL. The starters gave up no sacks. There wasn't one pressure in that Washington football team game, which was very impressive to me because that's a game that they're actually playing the entire, quarter or half, right? And even the Bengals backup linemen did their thing against the first line DL. So I do think that although Khalil Mack is an elite edge rusher, maybe he gets one sack, but I don't think it's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5. And so I think it's going to really come down to who can score the more points. And I think, honestly, the Bengals are able to beat Andy Dalton because I know more than anybody the limits of Andy Dalton and what he can do there. So I have the Bengals winning that one. Now with the Steelers, I didn't really pick a particular game, but I do think that we will split with them. So if you want to have this one as a loss, then that's fine. Or it could be considered a win. I think either way that we split with the Steelers. Joe Burrow, I think that this is going to be a hump that they surprisingly got over last year with Ryan Finley of all people. But I do think that it's going to be a pretty good, entertaining game, and I think that it will be a split. Excuse me. Jaguars game. I think the Jaguars are in a similar position to the Bengals last year. They're kind of transitioning from one staff to another, right? They've got Urban Meyer, they've got their quarterback, but they also have offensive line issues, right? We've seen that just in the preseason, right, with Trevor Lawrence and things like that. So I think that we'll be able to beat them just because we're a little bit ahead of the transition than they are right now. I still think that it's going to be a great game. I'm looking forward to watching Joe Burrow take on Trevor Lawrence. That'll be an interesting one. But I have the Bengals winning that one. And then we come back down to planet Earth and we take on the Packers. I have this as an L. Like, I'm not like a lot of people are like, Ace, how are you? I'm not that crazy that I'm going to say that they're going to beat Aaron Rodgers or anything like that. So those teams are in a different category. You talk about Super Bowl contenders. I've got the Packers beating us. Then we get to the Lions. Who are the Lions receivers? I can't name them. They are in a transition period as well. They went and traded and got Jared Goff. They don't have Matthew Stafford anymore. Honestly, I don't know what they're really doing because they went out and got Penei Sewell. In my opinion, you shouldn't have switched his position to right tackle. He's struggling right now. I think that you should have played him at left tackle. That's what I would have recommended the Bengals do. But they don't really have an offense. Like, honestly, if you're going to be throwing to Amon-Ra St. Brown as one of your starting receivers, I don't know what they're going to do with that. This is a passing league, and they literally have no receivers. It might be, honestly, the worst receiving core in the entire NFL. And when you're going against Joe Burrow and guys like Chase and Higgins, we're going to at least be able to put up some points, right? And even when you look at the Lions' defense, it's not really a unit that's going to scare you. So I have the Bengals winning there. Ravens, you guys have our number. I think that you guys are going to beat us there. The Jets, it's another similar situation. You got another team rebuilding. They've got Zach Wilson. They weren't that good because obviously they picked ahead of us last season. And so that's another winnable game that I have for the Bengals. And then this is the one that everybody on AFC North Talk is probably going to be talking about. You talk about the Bengals and Browns. But when you look at those games last year, the Battle of Ohio games were extremely exciting. I think watching Baker Mayfield and Joe Burrow go at each other, I think on that primetime game, that was kind of foreshadowing of how exciting these games were going to be. And they were both close, right? If the Bengals don't fumble in their own territory and the Browns get it back and make that score, then that's a game potentially that the Bengals could have won at the beginning. Now, I won't give it to that because obviously Myles Garrett made the sack, I believe, or whoever it was, forced the fumble. So you can't take that away. But then you think about the second game after that, and the Bengals had a lot of starters out in that game, wide receiver positions. The Browns did too, to their credit. But it came down to like that Baker Mayfield Hail Mary like pass. And I think the Battle of Ohio is just going to be so strong between Burrow going at Baker that I think it's going to be a split. And I have to continue to see if Baker is going to be that guy to continue to play like he did last year or if he's going to have limitations. Obviously, they reloaded as well, so I'm not trying to take anything away from their team. But we all know divisional games are pretty close unless it's us going against y'all. So I can't look at the rest of the division and say that it's just a sure thing that they're going to sweep us. You talk about the Raiders. I don't know what the Raiders are. I can't even remember if I had this as a win or a loss. I don't know what John Gruden is doing. They're trying to trade back for Khalil Mack, according to some reports.
What?
So I respect David Carr. I think that he does a lot of things. This could be a game that we lose, especially if it's on the West Coast. I don't know if it's home or away. So that's
for you guys. By the way, if it is top, that means the whole team's on top because in the UK, that's how they do it.
Okay, got you. That makes it way easier to understand. Appreciate that. So, I mean, the Raiders game, I think I may have had that as a loss just because the Raiders are just a weird team. Steelers, I said that we'd split with them. The Chargers game is actually, a lot of people were like, well, what's the tie? What's the tie? The Chargers game was the tie for me because the Bengals, in my opinion, and most of our fans' opinion, should have beat the Chargers last year. But at the end of the day, that was a completely different team because you had Tyrod Taylor starting at that point, right? We all know what happened when Justin Herbert came in. But I think that this is going to be an interesting game because we all know that they were neck and neck for the offensive rookie of the year, right? I remember saying, like, this is going to be a battle that goes into the second half of the season. Joe Burrow gets hurt in that 10th or the 9.5 game. And then Justin Herbert continues to ascend and be that guy. And I think that this is going to be a statement game because, Joe Burrow didn't have a fair fight with him getting injured. And so I think he's going to want to make the statement to validate, okay, I am just as good or if not better than Justin Herbert, because a lot of people are going to tie them together in this draft and say, hey, should the Bengals have drafted Herbert instead of Joe Burrow? So I think because of that, these are two teams that also are kind of in a transition. Like, I feel like the Chargers should have been better than their record, but they mirror us a lot because they always get hurt. They choke and do certain things. And so I have that one as a tie. 49ers, like I said, I live on planet Earth. We're not beating the 49ers. I got the 49ers beating us. The Broncos game, I think I even had that as an L. It's a weird one because will you be going against Teddy Bridgewater? Will you be going against
Lock?
Yeah, Drew Lock as well, right? I mean, a lot of people talk about the talent that they have, but we all know that it comes down to the quarterback position. Yes, they have great receivers on the Broncos. Yes, they have a great edge rush. You got to see what Von Miller can do, but I'm not going to doubt Von Miller. I don't know if he's the same guy that's going to give you, double-digit sacks just verbatim and be that guy that he was, but they still have Bradley Chubb. They still have some solid guys out there.
So I think in Denver, right? It's super hard to win in Denver.
Yeah, it's super hard to win in Denver, Mile High. So I think I had Denver winning that one. The Ravens, I think I still had us losing to you guys. I think I still had us getting swept because the games, there was one game that was close, but then it still ended up from a box score as a blowout. But I don't think that we've done enough to really say or be in games with the Ravens as of now. Like, I can't sit there and pretend that we didn't get blown out. The last two seasons, it kind of flipped. We had that run where we were like 5-0 against you guys, and that ended when Lamar Jackson came in. As soon as Lamar came in, it's been all Lamar, all Ravens. So I can't definitively sit here and say, hey, yeah, we're going to beat the Ravens because you guys are a Super Bowl contending team. I can't really say, given our history, that it will be close. It's not like we play you guys like the Steelers. Those games are always close. Monitoring those around the division. Chiefs, I live on planet Earth. We're not beating the Chiefs, bro. And then Browns, like I said, will split. So that's kind of how I saw this thing playing out, and that's where I ended where I was at.
Okay, and that's fair. I mean, I can see definitely your point. I think the Bengals, I mean, this is true for any team, right? What I'm going to say, but especially for the Bengals, health. I mean, for every team is true, right? Like if the Ravens, if Kansas City gets the injury bug, they're not going to be as good. That's true for any team. But I feel like the Bengals, especially every year, we talk about injuries from the Bengals. So it's super important.
Knock on wood right now. We're compared to years past, we've been solid so far. Osai was a tough one, right? Adeniji was a tough one. But so far, we're just hoping none of the key guys. Now, Trey Waynes is a key guy, but we just don't need any more of that throughout this season. But obviously, that's not realistic. Injuries are going to happen and be part of the game. But we just got to hope, like you said, all 32 teams have to try to stay healthy. And usually, and that's the issue, right, about adding that extra game is that's another potential where, injuries happen. Usually the team that's the healthiest, that's had the luck of being the healthiest at the end of the season, generally tends to be a playoff contender or go deep. So health is definitely key.
Okay, so we're going to have time, guys, for one call because we're getting close to the hour. Shout out to everybody who's here, from Mick the Dog and Raven, Brandon Tillman, Dusty, Raven, Ron, and all of you. And if I didn't shout out to you, my bad. Oh, I saw my guys over here, Lunch Break Hot Takes. Shout out to all of you. Thank you for joining the live stream. Let's go take the one call that we're gonna have time for. Can you hear that, Ace?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Perfect.
Hello.
Hey, Garnet. Shout out to you, man. How you doing?
Hey, what's good, man? How you guys doing? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. You can hear him, right, Ace?
Yeah, I can hear him. What's up, Garnett?
Hey, what's going on, Ace, man? You know, man, just living life, man. Beautiful weekend, man.
So, if Flora's here, any question you have for Ace or for me?
Yeah, man. So yeah, me and Ace, we be talking, man. It's just I'm pretty sure you feel the same way about the whole Big Ben thing. I think I honestly feel you guys got the Steelers numbers after the last game, and I think you think you guys are going to be able to sweep the Steelers with the whole situation.
I mean, it's tough, right? Like you said, with their situation, with them having been coming back as older, the offensive line issues, it's still a tall order for me to say that we're going to sweep them, just because I do have respect for Tomlin as a coach, and I don't think that he's going to go down without a fight. I don't think Pittsburgh is a team that goes down without a fight, but I think there's a chance. Like if Burrow's on fire. Let's just say Burrow comes back and is kind of playing like he was last year, and the offensive line is holding up as they have shown in preseason. I think that is possible, but I don't think that I could say it's just a foregone conclusion that the Steelers are just going to get swept. I do think that they're a talented team, but I do think the deficiencies that they have in terms of offensive line, in terms of a ticking time bomb, in terms of Big Ben, like, we know how he's going to be to start the season, but once we start to get into these games, once there's some wear and tear on that, is Father Time going to be knocking on his body and say, I'm done? So I think that there's always a chance, right? Because you never know. Like Big Ben could be hurt, right? And let's say we're going against Dwayne Haskins after we beat Ben in the first game. Yeah, there's a potential that it could happen, but I couldn't definitively just say that we're going to sweep the Steelers. Now, I did say, I believe on AFC North Talk, I think the Browns sweeping them. I actually had the Ravens tying with them, just given the history of, you guys with them. There's always going to be a close game. But I can't definitively say that we're just going to straight up sweep them.
Well, and the other thing is you guys faced them early, and they seem to be very good early in the season. As the season progressed, and I told this to Tony, I think it's because Ben's arm usually gets tired. So we'll see how they manage that with Harris now there. But yeah, having him there, having playing the Steelers early, I think that's where you're probably going to get their best shot.
Right. And that's what I was thinking as well. I just want to see how you felt about that. My second final question is, I know me and Ace, we were discussing a while back, like this is basically Cincinnati's fun year to just, gel. It's like a gelling thing more than anything for the offense.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not, I guess I'm just talking future tense now, but, where you think they're going to be by next year, that's where I think this is where, Cincinnati might, they're going to establish something next year, I believe. What do you think? Both of you guys, actually.
Right. I think next year is the year that they make the run at the playoffs. I think that's going to be Joe Burrow's year. And honestly, obviously they had the season that they had last year, and on paper it looked bad and everything, but we saw a lot of things that we loved from Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow did not play like a rookie. Obviously he did when he played against you guys. You guys frustrated him, but he did not look like a rookie. I mean, the man threw now that's probably part of, suspect coaching, having him throw 60 times, but it was just what can't this guy do? And the talent level that was on that team last year was not good. The offensive line was easily one of the worst in the NFL. He was still making stuff work. AJ Green and him weren't on the same page. So it's going to be fun to see without having all of those starters out, with him having a formidable offensive line. And I'm not expecting them to be in the top of the league, but if they can just be average, bro, that will be interesting to see. And I think next season they probably should go after, because they kind of addressed the line this year. I still think that they may have to address it next year, depending on what they do with Riley Reif, if they keep him or not. They do have Jackson Carman. They do have Deontay Smith, who it appears that they kind of hit on And he's going to be a big guy. I think that plays a role next season. But one of the big holes for them, I think, is going to be corner. Like we all know, you have to have those corners. Trey Waynes has been a bad investment so far. I can't completely say he's a bad investment, but corner is definitely a need. Edge rusher, I still think is a need. Even though they went out and signed Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard, I still think that they have to consider drafting one as well. But I do see them next season, I think, at least making a nice run to the playoffs. I can't say that they will now, just given off of what happened. Now, honestly, there were a lot of games that Joe Burrow played in that could have gone either way. You talk about the Chargers game. That was a game where A.J. Green has the push-off penalty that nobody really calls at that point in the game. And then, that ends up resulting in a field goal, and then our kicker misses the field goal. We got a way better kicker now this season. So there was that game. You've got the Eagles game where it ends in a tie, where they obviously should have won that one. You got the Browns one where they lose on just like a bomb. So there were a bunch of games last year that the Bengals won, by 6 or less points. And then they went out and beat the Titans. And so you saw flashes of what could happen. But I do think that the expectation is next season, I think the Bengals and Joe Burrow will really be ready to play. And I think it's going to be an interesting thing because that's the time where the Ravens will have to have paid LJ and the Browns will have had to play Baker. But the other thing is the Steelers, we don't know if Ben is going to be back or not. The other thing, though, is how is the cap space? Because it's expected to go up. So will that balance everything out for the Ravens and the Browns, or how will that end up, affecting this division? But I think next season is definitely the season that Bengals fans are looking for this team being a playoff contender. I'm not going to say Super Bowl contender, but I do think that they'll be a playoff contender.
Yeah, I would say to piggyback on Ace, I think a good goal for the Bengals is 7+ wins. If you get to 7+ wins, then you're building. If you're under 7, let's say they make it at 6 wins, then that's problematic.
Zach's got to get out of there. If they go at 6, which that's the scary part, because being realistic, that's the other side, right? Say, for instance, we have 6 wins. After going through, like, Bengals fans, we've been so used to Marvin Lewis for so long, we didn't realistically look at what a rebuild actually is. So, like, even when we transitioned from Chad Johnson and Carson Palmer to Andy Dalton, it really wasn't a true rebuild where you have a new coaching staff coming in that have their own schemes. With this Zach thing, it kind of took a couple of years for us to get out players that didn't fit his system. And it was a struggle, right? Because Bengals fans loved Carlos Dunlap. We loved Geno. We loved William Jackson, but they weren't really a fit for the scheme that Zach Taylor was running. Now, if you do got to get rid of Zach and you got to bring in a whole brand new scheme again next season, I think that that's going to be a tall order again, because I just saw, not only do you have to bring in new players, you got to change the roster, and that's tough. So, I can understand and sympathize with, Cleveland. If you don't get that coaching hire right, or if you don't get that quarterback pick right, it just really sets your franchise back, and you have to keep moving from different coach to different scheme. And that could be something if Zach doesn't win 6 games and they ask Zach, that not having that continuity is definitely something that could hurt him next season.
Yeah. Anything else, Garnett?
Yeah. Oh, shoot. And just a side note, just, how is, you guys got one of my favorite underrated receivers, Alden Tate, man.
Yes.
How he's been looking for how he's been looking.
Oh, Auden Tate is doing Auden Tate things, making circus catches, doing this thing. To me, it sucks because, I watched him at FSU because I spent some time in Tallahassee. I remember telling all Bengals fans, like, he was going to be the steal of our draft. With us now having those 3 receivers in front of him, unfortunately, he's not going to get, the opportunity that he should get. But I think by next year, he'll probably end up leaving and going to a situation where he could be the first or second receiver. I honestly think, me and Zim were just talking about this, if he went to the Lions now, I think he could be their number 1 or number 2 easily. But he's looking great. I think he just deserves the shot to be somewhere where he can be a starter. I hope that that's not in the division, because Auden Tate is a good receiver. But he's definitely looking like Auden Tate, making those crazy catches.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
Yeah, I was just hoping the guy he landed in Baltimore when the opportunity had came around, but it just is what it is, man.
Hey, you never know what the future may hold. He may want to get some revenge against us, and that ends up happening sometimes.
Right. Yeah, I see you on that, man. But yeah, man, I just want to say thank y'all, man. I can't really speak so much about it, man. It's hard, man. I thank y'all for putting up the AFC North, man. We needed that as a community. I be hearing a lot of, hey, you be holding it down, man. Sonny, I swear you need to support this man because he be getting double teamed by Tony and by Q all the time, man. He be just holding it down, man.
We gotta hold her down.
Thank you, man.
But yeah, man, bro. Thank y'all.
Take care.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Okay, before we close this out, I just want to say, as I said earlier, we have a Survivor League. You have to follow the Twitter handle, or if you subscribe to the channel, we put a community post. Here's the link, but I'm not expecting you guys to write all that. It is on the Twitter for AFC North. I retweeted it. I think all the guys retweeted it. We are going to be playing on the league. Obviously, if one of us wins, it could happen. I mean, I won Survivor before. But if one of us wins, we'll give it to whoever the second place winner is. Manscaped is sponsoring the league. So they're putting it up. The league is free. We did not want it to have at any cost. So the price will be a Manscaped package. So make sure you hit the link, go sign up, and there's a password. And the reason we did the password was I didn't want people, Yahoo, you can say, oh, let me see all the leagues open, right? So at least they will have to know something about us for to be in the league. So make sure you put the password when you hit the link and you're in. Once a week, pick a team. It's only one strike. So make sure you get them right, because if you don't know how Survivor works, you pick a team, can't pick that team twice, and you get one strike, you out. I have Ace links below, but Ace, where they can find you, man?
You can find me on AFC North Talks. So please be sure to hit that subscribe button there. And then you can also find me at New Stripe City on YouTube, New Stripe City on Twitter as well, all one word, at New Stripe City.
Yeah, guys. Thank you for joining. Next week, I'm not streaming. I'm actually heading tomorrow to Scotland. I know last week I wasn't here Monday either because I was in Portugal. I'm trying to liven it up just a little bit. Season's about to start, so obviously no travels after that. Anyway, thank you. I'll see you the following week, streaming in the AFC North Talk twice. Make sure you subscribe, and we will see you next time.